Ronald Reagan's inaugural address, Jan 20th, 1981. Senator Hatfield, Mr. Chief Justice, Mr. President, Vice President Bush, Vice President Mondale, Senator Baker, Speaker O'Neill, Reverend Manu Momo, and my fellow citizens. To a few of you here today, this is a solemn and most momentous occasion, and yet in the history of our nation, it is a commonplace occurrence. The orderly transfer of authority as called for by the Constitution routinely takes place as it has for almost 2 centuries, and few of us stop to think how uniquely we really are. In the eyes of many of the world, this every 4-year ceremony may be expect and accept as normal is nothing less than a miracle. Mr. President, I want our fellow citizens to know how much you did carry on this tradition. By your gracious cooperation in the transitional process, you have shown the watching world that we are united people, pledged to maintain a political system which guarantees individual liberty to a greater degree than any other, and I thank you and your people for all help in maintaining the continuity in the bulwark of our republic. The business of our nation goes forward. These United States are confronted with a great economic affliction of great proportion. We suffer from the longest and one of the worst sustained inflation in our national history. It distorts economic decisions, penalizes thrift, and crushes the struggling young and fixed economic and income elderly alike. It threatens to shatter the lives of millions of our people. Idle industries have cast workers into unemployment, human misery, and personal indignity. Those who do work are denied a fair return of their labor by a tax system which penalizes successful achievement and keeps us from maintaining full productivity. But great as the tax burden is, it has not kept pace with the public spending. For decades, we have piled deficit upon deficit, mortgaging our future and our children. Future for temporary convenience of the present. To continue this long trend is to guarantee tremendous social and cultural and political and economic upheaval. You and I as individuals can borrowing live beyond our means for only a limited period of time. Why then should we think that collectively as a nation we are not bound by the same intuition and limitation? We must act today in order to preserve tomorrow. And let there be no misunderstanding. We are going to act beginning today. The economic ills we suffer have become and have come upon us several decades. They will not go away in days, weeks, or months, but they will go away. They will go away because we as Americans have the capacity now, as we have done in the past, to do whatever needs to be done to preserve this last and greatest bastion of freedom. In the present crisis, government is not the solution of the problem. Government is the problem. From time to time, we have been tempted to believe that the society has become too complex to be managed by self-rule, that government by an elite group is superior to government for by and of the people. Well, if no one among us is capable of governing themselves, then who among us has the capacity to govern someone else? All of us together in and out of the government must bear the more burden. The solution we seek must be equitable, with no one group singled out to pay a higher price. We hear much about a social and special interest group. What our concern must be for a special interest group that has been too long neglected. It knows no sectional boundaries or ethnic or racial divisions. It crosses political party lines. It's made up of men and women who raise their food and petrol. Our streets, men or mine and factories teach our students and children, keep our homes and heat us when we are sick, including professionals, industrialists, shopkeepers, clerks, cabbies, and truck drivers. They are, in short, we the people, this breed called Americans. Well, this administration's objective will be the healthy, vigorous, growing economy that It provides equal opportunity for all Americans with no barriers born of bigotry or discrimination. Putting America back to work means putting all Americans back to work. Ending inflation means freeing all Americans from the terror of runaway living cost. All must share the productive cost of this new beginning, and all must share the bounty of the revived economy. With the idealism and fair play which are the core of our system and strength, we can have a strong and prosperous America at peace with itself and the world. So, as we begin, let us take inventory. We are a nation that has government, not the other way around, and this makes us special among the nations of the world. Our government has no power except that granted to it by the people. It is time to check and reverse the growth of our government, which shows signs of having grown beyond the consent of the governed. It's my intention to grow the size and influence of the federal establishment and to demand recognition of the distinction between the powers granted to the federal government and those reserved to the state and of the people. All of us need to be reminded that the federal government did not create the states. The states created the federal government. Now, so there will be no misunderstanding. It's not my intention to do away with government. It's rather to do work. Work with us, not over us. To stand by our side, not right on our back. Government can and must provide opportunity, not smother it, foster productivity, not stifle it. If we look to the answer as to why for so many years we have achieved so much, prospered, as no one other people on earth, it is because here on this land we have unleashed the energy and individual genius of man to a greater extent than has ever been done before. Freedom and the dignity of the individual has been more available and assured than in any other place of the earth. The price of this freedom at times has been high, but we have never been unwilling to pay that price. It is no coincidence that our present troubles parallel and are proportionate to the interventional intrusion of our lives that result from the unnecessary and excessive growth of government. It's time for us to realize that we are too great a nation to limit ourselves to small dreams. We are not out of a small world as we have believed, doomed to an inevitable decline. I do not believe in a fate that will fall upon us no matter what we do. I do believe in a fate that will fall upon us if we do nothing. So with all the creative energy in our command, let's begin an era of national renewal. Let's renew our determination, our courage, our strength, and let's renew our faith and hope. With every right to dream heroic dreams, those who say that we are not in time, that we are in time when they are not heroes, they just don't know where to look. You can see heroes every day going in and out of factory gates, although their handful number produce enough food to feed us all. And then the world beyond. You meet heroes across the counter, and they're on both sides of that counter. They're the entrepreneurs with faith in themselves and faith in an idea who create new jobs, new wealth and opportunities. They are individuals and families whose taxes support the government and whose voluntary gifts support church, charity, culture, art, and education. Their patriotism is quiet but deep. They value sustain another life. Now I use the word there and there in speaking of these heroes. I could say you and your because I am addressing the heroes of who I speak to. You, the citizens of the blessed land. Your dreams, your hopes, and your goals are going to be the dreams, hopes, and the goals of this administration. So help me God. We shall reflect the compassion that is much a part of this makeup. How can we love this country and not love our countrymen? And loving them, reach out our hands when they fall, heal when they are sick, and provide opportunity to make them self-sufficient so that will be equal, in fact, not just in theory. Can we solve the problem confronting us? Well, the answer is an unequivocal and emphatic yes. To paraphrase Winston Churchill, I did not take the oath. I've just taken the intention of President presiding over the dissolution of the world's strongest economy. In the days ahead, I will propose removing the roadblocks that have slowed our economy and reduced productivity. Steps will be taken aimed at restoring the balance between the various levels of government. Progress may be slow, measured in inches and feet, not miles, but we will progress. It's time to reawaken this industrial giant, to get government back within its means, and to lighten the punitive tax burden. And this will be our first priority, and on these principles there will be no compromise. On the eve of our struggle of independence, a man who might have been one of the greatest among the founding fathers, Dr. Joseph Warren, president of the Massachusetts Congress, said to his fellow Americans, "Our country is in danger, but do not be despaired of. On you depends the fortune of America. You want to decide the important questions upon which rests the happiness of our liberty of millions of yet unborn. Act worthy of yourself." While I believe in me, I believe we, the Americans of today, are ready to act for of ourselves, ready to do what must be done to ensure happiness and liberty for everyone and ourselves, our children, and our children's children. And as we renew ourselves here on this great own land, we will be seen as having greater strength throughout the world. We will again be the exemplar of freedom and a beacon of hope for those who do not have freedom. To the neighbors and allies who share our freedom, we will strengthen our historic ties and assure them of our support and firm commitment. We will match loyalty with loyalty, we'll match mutually beneficial relation. We will not use friendship to impose on their sovereignty, for our own set of sovereignty is not for sale. As for the enemies of freedom, those who are potential adversaries, they will be reminded that peace is the highest aspiration of American people. We will negotiate for it, sacrifice for it. We will not surrender for it, now or ever. Our forbearance should never be misunderstood. Our reluctance to our conflict should not be misjudged as a failure of will. When an act is required to preserve our national security, we will act. We'll maintain sufficient strength to prevail if needs be, knowing that if we do so, we will have the best chance of never having to use the strength. Above all, we must realize that no arsenal or no weapon in the arsenal of the world is so formidable as the will of moral courage of free men and free women. It's the weapon our adversaries in today's world do not have. It's a weapon that we the Americans do have. Let that be understood by those who practice terrorism and prey upon their neighbors. I am told that tens of thousands of prayer meetings to be held on this day. For that, I'm deeply grateful. We are a nation under God and believe God's intended for us to be free. I will be fitting and good, and I think that if each inaugural day in future years, it should be declared Day of Prayer. This is the first time in history that the ceremony has been held, as we have been told, on the west front of the Capitol. Standing here, one faces the magnificent vista opening up on its city's special beauty and history. At the end of this opening mall are the shrines of the giants whose shoulder we stand. Directly in front of me, the monument to a monumental man, George Washington, father of our country, a man of humility who came to greatness reluctantly. He led America out of revolutionary victory into infant nationhood. Off to one side, the stately memorial of Thomas Jefferson, the Declaration of Independence flames with his eloquence. And then beyond the reflecting pool, the defying column of Lincoln Memorial. Whoever will understand on this in his heart the meaning of America will find it in the life of Abraham Lincoln. Beyond the monument to heroism is the Potomac River and on the far shore of the sloping of the Arlington National Cemetery, with its row upon row of simple white markers bearing crosses of stars of David. They add up to only a tiny fraction of the price that has been paid for our freedom. Each one of these markers in the monument will keep to the kind of heroes I spoke earlier. Their lives ended up in the place called Bayou Woods, Oregon, Omaha Beach, Salerno, halfway around the world, then Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Pork Chop Hill, the Quasian Reservoir, and in the 100 rice paddies and jungles of the place called Vietnam. On a one such marker lies a young man, Martin Treptow, who left a job in a small town barbershop in 1970 to go to France with a fine Rainbow Division. There on the West Front, he was killed trying to carry a message in battalions under heavy artillery fire. We're told that his body was found in a diary. On a fly leaf under the heading, My Pledge, he has written these following words: America must win the war. Therefore I will work, I'll save, I'll sacrifice, I'll endure, I'll fight cheerfully and do my utmost as if the issue of the world's struggle depends on me alone. The crisis we are facing today does not require of us the same kind of sacrifice that Martin Treptow and many thousands of you and others were called upon to make. It does require, however, our best effort and our willingness to believe in ourselves and to believe in our capacity to perform great deeds and to believe that together with God's help, we can and we will resolve the problems which we confront now. And after all, why shouldn't we believe that? We are Americans. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you very much.